What if your team could run without you? In this episode, CEO strategist and team productivity expert Atiba de Souza reveals the leadership frameworks from his upcoming and his book that just came out this summer, The Delegation Trap. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? Systems that turn overwhelmed leaders into confident CEOs with self-managing teams. That's a dream of every CEO. You'll discover how to eliminate bottlenecks, install simple productivity systems that scale, and create accountability without micromanaging. This conversation is your blueprint if you're ready to stop carrying your business on your back and start leading with freedom. Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyan, your host, lead machine coach and founder of the Lead Machine Marketing Group and Mastermind. I'm dedicated to helping you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream life with guests such as Atiba. So whether you're just starting out or just want to take your business to the next level, let's get this conversation started and turn your dreams into reality. As I mentioned, Atiba is a business ninja, build your team guru. He transforms struggling organizations into high performing, self-managing teams, as we've mentioned, through proven frameworks to eliminate bottlenecks and streamline operations. His new book, The Delegation Trap, is going to be the topic of this show today. What I really like is that Atiba doesn't talk theory. He delivers battle-tested systems leaders can use right away, and we're excited about that. The audience of entrepreneurs and service providers that juggle too much, these frameworks are going to help provide clarity and strategies that you can use. And I'm really interested in how well this really does align with my new books that are coming out or that just came out, especially the Speed to Scale, as we were just talking about. Atiba, my brother, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thank
How's
you.
it
And I'm
going?
glad that we got to do this, my friend.
Yeah, me too. Building a self-managing team. I used to work in a logistics company, and
Hmm.
I'd already been introduced to personal development. But one of his big things was, and he was a great mentor, God rest his soul, about self-managing teams. And it sounds amazing. It's hard to pull off, though.
Hmm.
It seems, but it's scary for some leaders because they want to control. So
Yes.
where should you start if you want to have a team that can run itself, run without you being there?
Yeah. That's a great question. And thanks for asking that right off the bat. Let's jump right on in.
Yeah,
And here's the
you
thing.
bet.
You got to start in the mirror. That's where it all starts. Because the
Yeah.
reason that the team isn't self-managing is staring you in the eyes in the mirror. Okay.
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about it. Sometimes there's control issues. There are control issues. Okay. The other big issues that happens a lot that especially us as small business owners don't like to admit and never actually look at is superhero syndrome.
Yeah. No kidding.
Okay. Syndrome. So let's break those two down. Oh,
Yeah.
so on the control issues, we say things like, no one can do it as well as I can.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just better at this. I'm just smarter. I give it to them and then I gotta come back and fix it anyway. Or it would be quicker if I just did it myself. Okay.
Totally.
All right. And then we're also fueled there with some of the control issues, with some of the lies. On the pre-show, you mentioned a book, which I'm not going to mention the book. A lot of us know the book because a lot of us have read the book. And in this
Mhm.
book, the author says, it's not your book, by the way.
Yeah.
In
It's
this
not my
book,
book.
the author says, if someone can do something 80% as well as you should just delegate it. That was their way to help you get over control. But that actually makes it worse. Because did you start your business to only produce at 80% as good? None of us did.
Yeah.
None of us did. And if they actually could produce 80% as good, which they never do, but even if they could, we still would go to bed every night fretting about that 20%.
Yeah.
And that keeps us getting back into wanting to take control again. Okay. So it's one itch. When you're looking in the mirror and you're looking in your eyes, you got to see, am I suffering there? Is that the other one is a superhero syndrome. Now, this is a silent killer. This is a
Yeah.
silent killer. Okay. And it's a silent killer
Especially if you're
because,
super. especially if you're the Superman.
especially
Yeah.
if you're the Superman, which as
Yeah.
small business owners, we are the superheroes.
Hmm.
Okay. We're the super people. Because let's just think about our ethos and where we came from for so many of us. We were good at something, and somebody said, you can make money doing this. And so we went out and we made money doing it. Okay. Whether that was sales, whether that was making a widget, whether that was a professional service, whatever it was, there was something in your business that you were really great at, which is why you started the business. The problem you were going to solve in the world. That started a superhero complex right there. And in the
Yeah.
early days, we got our strength and our good feeling from the fact that he did it. It was us, right? And I was listening to a young entrepreneur talk this past weekend, and he was saying that, it's like when things are good and I'm making money, I feel great. When we're not making money, I feel awful. Like, yeah, that's the start of superhero complex right there.
Yeah.
And see
You
what
should
ends
feel
up
good all the
happening.
time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what ends up happening is when we start to hire people in, and now we start to give them things to do, give them projects, give them parts of the business, we still want to be the superhero. We still get our dopamine hit from when there's a problem and we get to rush to solve it. But we
Hmm.
also get frustrated when they call us and say, I've got a problem because I hired you and I'm paying you. Why aren't you solving it? And so then we end up in this dichotomous state
Hmm.
as small business owners. And you got to look at yourself in the mirror and see, am I suffering with one of those two or both? That's where it starts.
Yeah. I think we should probably step back a little bit because
Mm.
maybe you didn't stumble upon this idea of this framework, but I sense that since you got the super hat on, that you have been just what we're talking about. You're the superhero. And the other thing that occurred to me that you can have superheroes in your organization if
Mhm.
you're a medium size or a small to mid size with a
Mhm.
staff and whatnot. A lot of times you have a superhero and they would rather do it themselves than hand it over. So what's
Mhm.
how did you get started and how did you discover this? And then what do you do about getting out of being the superhero or managing someone out of that
Who
position?
is? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who is?
Great questions. So let me start by saying I am just like you. You're listening thing. You're probably at some point where either you have a team or you want a team, and it might be a little terrifying, maybe a little frustrating. Been there. Listen, Paul, there was a year at we had retail shops, and I did six humans on staff to fill
Mhm.
all the hours at the retail shop. And in a year, I hired 100 people to fill six positions.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good. And what made it worse? The next year, I repeated it 200 people in 2 years to fill six positions. I have made every single leadership and delegation mistake there is. I can swap war stories with anyone on that stuff. Okay. And
Mhm.
it was at the end of that 2 year period and being completely frustrated where I had to do what I just told y'all to do of looking in the mirror and saying, what in the hell happened? Because to overpay and pay more than market rate. I tried to underpay. I tried to hire people with certain degrees. I tried to for a retail place.
Yeah.
Okay. And it all failed. And I sat there and I was in the midst of reading, which I used to read every year back then, Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited.
Yep. Love that book.
Yeah, great book.
Yeah.
And I was in the midst of reading that again for about the 10th time when it hit me on that day that I was called in because I had to cover a shift because someone decided not to show up to work on my day off. And I was frustrated, as I'm sure most of us would have been.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what in the hell is going on here. And it was that day that I realized I was the one. I was the only constant in all of it. So somehow or the other, I had created the problem. I was the problem. I'm the only constant. It's simple math.
Yeah. The common denominator. Yeah.
It comes right back. Okay. And
Hmm.
I was frustrated because, again, I'd read E Myth many years in a row, and I had created all of these systems. I had all of these SOPs, and I told you exactly everything to do. Paul, I remember one time, let me share this story with you in the audience if you don't mind. I remember one time my wife and I decided we were going to take a couple of days off, and we went to a church conference, and we were taking a couple of days off. We hadn't done that in a while, and we're at this church conference, and we're in like hour 2 of the church conference, and my phone is blowing up. Okay, this is back in like 2014. Okay, I'm just getting text message, I'm getting calls from the retail location. Something's going on. Okay, what's going on? So I call back. We are out of change. I have a customer here and they paid, and I'm out of quarters. Okay. So take a 20 and go next door and buy some quarters from someone else, from one of the other retail vendors. Well, okay. And somewhere in that conversation, she mentioned that she had dimes and nickels. Right. You see where this is going.
Yeah.
But the SP then did give him quarters. And so that's what she was doing.
Oh,
Never mind that I have 2 dimes and a nickel, and there's my quarter.
yeah.
Right.
25 cents.
And so I realized I'd given them all of this. And I was saying, and that was my frustration. Like, I gave you everything, and it's still not working. Why? And it was me. It was me. And what I've learned over the years, and this is what the book covers, is that the thing that we don't do and the thing that we must do in order to lead well and delegate and have teams that actually take ownership is we have to stop telling people what to do and start teaching people how to think.
Mm.
That's the big difference. That's the big difference. You see, because once we start to teach them how to think, and now we can think together, then they do something which is called co-creation. And co-creation of ideas is how people take ownership. And that's where, as a business owner, your freedom comes.
Hmm. Yep. It's collaboration, co-creation. What a great
100%.
concept. Yeah. And I've worked in many businesses as an employee, as a project manager, and IT leader. And and you hear about companies like really big companies putting in the software called SAP, which is an
Yep. Yep.
enterprise resource requirements package, ERP system, which
Mm-hmm.
they spend millions of dollars and years getting it all customized to the way that they want, that
Mm-hmm.
management wants it to be, just like what you just said. And
Mm-hmm.
the employees hate it and they don't adopt it. And so
Yep.
it's a failure. And
Every
so
time.
without getting implementing CRM systems, getting people on the team early to, like you say, co-create and say, okay, this is how we do it. This is how I do it. Okay, let's decide how it should be done and let's do it that way and let's try it. And if it doesn't work, let's refine that process as a team, which is hard to make happen because of resources, but you've got to do it. So, what are some of the ways that you can motivate that co-creation or that you
Yeah.
can
And
instill
so
that or inspire it?
the thing that's interesting is culture has taught us exactly what you just said. It's hard to get there, but it actually isn't.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to give you something a little bit countercultural right now.
Uh-huh.
And because that's what all the management books forever has wanted us to believe. This is
Yeah.
hard to get. People aren't going to do it. No one's going to love your business as much as you do. No one's going to care as much as you do. No one's going to do it as well as you do. And let me tell you what I've been able to do in my company and in other companies is help them get their teams to 110% or more of what the owner was.
Hmm.
Now, if your team performs at 100%, 10% of you, then you start to wonder, am I obsolete? And the answer is yes. And when you can travel the world, do you want to do? Go fishing, whatever that is. Okay. And here is the key, Paul. Here's the key. Here's the key. In studying the greatest leaders in history, I learned that they have one trait in common. One. And that is they all knew how to ask great questions. They all knew how to ask great questions. And so what I happened upon, because I'm going to tell you that story was a complete accident, born out of frustration, is a four-question framework that actually leads your team through co-creation and into ownership and into them being at least 110% better than you. At least. And
Lay it on me, brother.
here it is. You ready?
Yeah.
And we talk about it in the book. So the book is called The Delegation Trap. And in the book, I go through something that I call the CASE method.
Mhm.
CASE. CASE. Okay. And it's a 4-question framework. Now, this 4-question framework you use with you and a staff member. And I want to be very clear as you're listening to me right now. When I say a staff member, I don't care how you classify it, whether it's a virtual employee, whether it's a 1099, a W-2, a contractor, someone who is doing work for the betterment of your organization. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Okay. This framework works across the board, whatever your structure is. And now we're in a place where we will need to delegate something to someone. Okay. I did it just this morning. We have a new project that's coming online, and we're allowing a new young lady to lead this area. She's never led before. She's never led before.
Mm-hmm.
Not literally, but she's never led before. Okay. And so this morning, I laid out the project for her. And it's okay, here it is. And we want you to lead this. This is what it means to lead. Is this something that you want to do? She said, yes. I said, okay. I said, the first piece that you're going to have to do here is here's the entire write-up on everything that we've done so far, who the audience is, all the information. And the first thing we got to do is start to look at what is the project plan of this going to be. Here's how you do it. And I told her, I expect you to go off and do this and come back. And what you're going to do is wrong. You're not going to get it right the first time. And that's okay. I expect that you're not going to get it right the first time. And when you come back, we're going to have a meeting and we're going to talk about it. Okay. And we're going to have what's called a case method meeting. And when we get to that meeting next week, week and a half, my first question to her is going to be this. So as you were doing this project and pulling this together, what challenges did you have? That's the C. The C. What challenges did you have? She's going to illuminate some things that are challenges to her. As she does that, I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to say a word. I'm just going to listen and take notes. I'm just going to listen to whatever she says. It doesn't matter what she says. I'm just going to listen and take notes. When she's done, I'm going to ask her to articulate the steps. That's the A. Articulate the steps that you went through to do this. So I told you how to do it. We just talked through it. We recorded it. It was virtual on Zoom. And I told you the process to go through. But you're going to go off and do it. And now I want you to articulate the steps that you took. I'm going to write down all the steps that she took. And there's something amazing, and absolutely amazing, Paul, that happens in this moment. As an entrepreneur, number one, we're not used to being quiet.
Yeah.
Okay. But in that quiet of listening, you get to hear the challenges, and your brain is firing about, well, why'd you have that challenge? Why'd you have that challenge? That didn't make sense. Why'd you do that? Oh, that doesn't make sense. But you're just listening. And then when they articulate the steps, you get to say, oh, that's why you screwed that up. I get it now. Because now you can start to see. And what you're getting is a framework of how they think. Now, as a framework of how they think is coming online, your brain naturally is going to show you, well, here's how we would have done it. And you start to see the delta, Paul.
Yeah.
Between where they are and how you would have thought about it. And that now becomes where you start to train. Okay? Now, how do we get to that place of starting to train? That's question number 3. We're going to study and dive deep in 4 of the steps. As they articulated the steps in step 2, we're going to take 4 of them. 2 they did right and 2 they did wrong. We're not going to let them know which ones are which. And we're just going to study, ask them, so what were your assumptions when you started this? What did you expect the outcomes to be? And just listen to what they're saying. And then that's when dialogue starts to happen. And we start to be able to say, well, okay, so you thought about this. It's just your assumption. You did this and this. We're not telling them the answer. We already know.
That'd be
We
hard.
already know the answer.
Yeah.
We're asking them questions that helps them figure out the answer themselves. So, okay, at this step, you chose B, and that took you down this path. What would have happened if you chose C? And just let them think through it. Is it because in that thinking through moment, they start to see it themselves. And then they start to say, oh, if I chose C, then I would have done this, and I would have done this, and I would have done this, and I would have done this. That's the moment co-creation starts. That's the moment when they start to think, this was my idea.
Yeah.
Yep,
They start to own it. When it's their idea, they own it.
They own it.
Yeah.
They own it. And then E, which is the last question, is what was easier than expected? I love this one because as we ask this one, the thing that we learn about our team members and teammates is we often uncover hidden talents that they have that we didn't even realize. Things that they found super easy that may have been difficult for us. But we find talents there. So that's the 4-question framework.
Wow. I'm grateful that you shared that with us. I know that's in your book, and I'm sure in much greater detail. Wow,
Yes.
that's a masterclass. And you can take that now, you could take that and use that with a relationship, with a system, or with an operation, with a marketing plan, with just about anything. Gosh, I love frameworks for that reason, because
Yes.
when I was writing my Speed Advantage series books, I didn't realize I was focused on speed to lead, responding quickly to within 5 minutes to any inquiry, and then escalating it and evaluating it, making it human, escalating it to a human, and driving them to action. I had no idea how that same framework impacted trust and profit and scalability and impact and value to the user. And so I wrote the 5 books because of that. But I didn't know that in the beginning when I started out. I was challenged by my business coach to come up with those topics. And so it's funny, I'll bet you'll have discovered different ways that you never imagined could come out of such a framework like that. It's such a powerful thing. And it gives you structure there's your agenda for a meeting right there. And all you need to do is have the patience and the self-control to take someone through this? And you could ask yourself those questions too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And that's a lot of the beauty is it's self-actualizing when you use it on yourself, right? You can use it with someone else. And to your point earlier, we use it to train managers on how to train their staff,
Yeah.
right? And it's also the framework to your point. It's also the framework for how we even build AI employees and
Yeah.
train AI employees.
Oh, yeah. 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 Let's talk about
It works
AI
everywhere.
employees since you brought it up.
Yeah,
How are
sure.
you
Absolutely.
using AI employees in your business? And maybe give an example of how you can train them and then hold them
Mhm.
accountable, because it's an AI assistant or employee is the same as really as a human employee, except without the emotion.
It is.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. And you know that this is the one of the things I do teach a web class once a month on hiring an AI employee. And I start there
Oh, okay.
every single month talking about the fact that hiring an AI employee, managing an AI employee is the exact same as managing a human employee. And if you're not good at managing humans, you won't be good at managing AI, period. Because it's
Hmm.
all about
Yeah.
communication. Okay. The
Uh-huh.
case method is all about communication. It's about the questions that you ask. Right. And so
Yeah.
in our organization, almost every single human has an AI employee that works alongside them in some way, shape, or form.
Mm.
Okay. And we actually build AI employees, marketing AI employees for our staff to use. Now, we use the case method to train them because when they do the wrong thing, we go ask, okay, what was the challenge that you had? Right.
Mm.
And now let's go through the steps that you took. And let's look at your logs and look at the steps that you took. Right. Okay. I see we went wrong. Okay, let's study in here. Okay. And with AI, one of the beauties of and I guess some of us don't even consider it in this way. When AI goes awry, I turn around and ask it, what was the logic that you followed?
Ah.
Because I asked you to do something and you went awry in the logic that you followed. So let me find that logic. And now that will illuminate to me how to ask a question in the future.
Yeah. And that makes you a better leader, just like you were talking earlier. The greatest men and women know how to ask great questions. And the better you can ask a question, the better you can communicate. And I find that very true but I hadn't thought of the case framework and how I can train my AI to produce the results that I'm looking for. Now, are those voice AI agents that you're talking of? There's probably a myriad of different types of agents
But yeah,
that
with
you
voice,
work.
video, or text. Okay.
Uh,
Voice, video. I mean, I honestly, I did this just last night.
yeah.
Okay. That's how much we use. Like, this is part of the daily life that we're doing. And so we're building this platform right now for the medical industry and getting. And one of the pieces of it is helping the medical industry define the signature solution that they provide to their patient. Well, it's the signature solution is a combination of a lot of different things. It's a combination of understanding the services that are offered, the ideal customer, what their pain points are, the reviews that have been given to the practice, and actually what this practice is all about, and the ethos of this practice, what the clinic thinks their ethos is. All those things come together to start to create your ideals, sorry, a signature solution. And
Right.
we built a prompt within an agent, and what it was producing wasn't good enough.
Hmm.
And it just coming out. And so we took the whole thing. We said, okay, we went to actually, yeah, I did this in ChatGPT. So went to ChatGPT and we said, okay, we have an agent. Here's the input. Here's the prompt. Here's the output. Here's where we would like to be? And what are we missing from what we're giving it that would
Uh,
get there? And it came
yeah.
back and said, I mean, you're really, like, literally, if I read that the prompt, it said, you're really close. However, if you were able to give the system the star rating, then and the number of reviews, then it can create a rating system that would better balance how it used each piece of information,
Hmm.
get you a better outcome in the end, and have a couple other suggestions.
And then that way it's tuned to the voice of the customer, which is
Hmm.
the review input, which is higher priority, can be higher priority to the other pieces. Yeah. And then you
Right,
can articulate what the value of that signature solution is. Yeah.
right. Versus if they have one review versus 1,000 reviews, and that one review should not outweigh the doctor's input,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
it was able to figure all of that out and say, okay, this is how you can modify the prompt to make it better. That's the case method. We took our agent and we were saying, what challenge are you having? And we saw the challenge. And then we went to a tool,
Tool. Yeah.
right, and articulated the steps and said, hey, help us figure this out.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, yes, it's the same process. It's the
I love
same
it.
process. Okay. But it's all about communication, Paul, like you said. And if we can't communicate well, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. And when you say that, that reminds me of accountability. And
Hmm.
sometimes leaders and managers or leaders have a difficult time with certain staff members, employees, whatever you want to call. They have a difficult time communicating in a way that isn't in a professional way that's fruitful and efficacious. They feel like
Yes.
they have to
Yes.
circle around what the real issue is. So that's really tricky. How can leaders help their teams overcome that and
Great
work
question.
without micromanaging maybe a difficult person who is an
Yeah.
employee who's not performing up to that? They're
Um,
at 80%.
so this is going to be a shameless plug. Sorry, y'all. It's
Yeah.
one of the things you cover in the book. And it's one of the things that when you buy the book off of our website that you also get for free. So let me explain that to you. So in the
Okay.
book, we have several chapters where we talk about the art of asking questions
Mm.
and understanding the questions that you're asking. And if you're starting to go down the wrong path with a question and you can start to feel it, how you can turn yourself around and start to ask better questions. Now, that's easy to write, hard to live.
Mm.
And so we built an AI agent that when you buy the book through our website, you get as part of the bundle. And this AI agent, we call it the situational coach, Paul, because what it does is you can go in and you can say, hey, I have this employee and here's the situation. And you can talk to it. And here's the situation. And here are all the challenges. Here's what's been going on. Here's what I'd like to happen. And here's what I want to say to them. I want to say, idiot, why in the world would you think in this way or that way? And you can say all of this stuff to it. And the situational coach takes all of that in, thanks you for it, and then says, okay, here are a series of questions that you can ask that will get you to the desired outcome that you want.
Mm.
And it
Nice.
gives you that structure in the order in which you should ask questions and why they will work. Okay.
Nice.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard in the moment. It's hard when emotions are high. It's
Yeah.
hard. And that's one of the reasons we built this because we know how hard it is. Right. And if you can
Yeah.
for just long enough, I mean, that's the old thing too. People used to tell you all the time, and I'll tell you even pause. Pause before you want to respond. But
Yeah.
sometimes that pause before you want to respond just makes you madder. It
It
really
does. Yeah. Well, when you're paused, you're not supposed to be ruminating over the thing. You're supposed to be,
but you are,
yeah, but you are. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why we built this. And so that you, in that pause, you have a tool that can help you. I remember I was teaching a workshop on this topic several weeks ago, about 2 months
Uh-huh.
ago. And there was a lady on the call, and she was like, I got to tell you, I've got to get off the call early. And I'm really mad I got to get off the call early because I've got an employee that I got to deal with. And, and she explained, I said, just go use the situational coach. And I pulled it up in the shoulder, and she went on the call, and she was like, oh my gosh, this was so great. And then she went and she did it with the employee. She's like, oh, it was so much better for me.
Wow.
Right. Because in
Yeah, and we're going to
reality,
tell you how to
yeah,
get. We're going to tell you about how to get that in just a minute too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
You were
In
saying?
reality, yeah, in reality, we all are experiencing life.
Mm.
And the thing is, we often experience life from our vantage point and our vantage point only. And in order to be effective communicators, in order to have great presence, in order to build great trust, we have to be able to experience life from multiple facets, not just our own. We have to be able to experience, not understand, but even experience from someone else's.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not the easiest of things to do. It's not, because we're so often stuck in our own heads. Right. And so the
Totally. Yeah.
situational coach actually helps you experience from their perspective while giving you the tool to satisfy your perspective.
Great. You wrote this book, but why did you write it? What was the spark that said, "Oh, I've got to do this. I got to write this down because it's working"?
Yeah, that's a great question. Man, you started off with a good question. You keep on coming. So this book poured out of me. I never wanted to write a book, Paul. I never wanted to write a book. It was never in the cards for me. It was not something I wanted to do. I never wanted to write a book. And January of this year, I was in a mastermind and I had to get up and share something. And I honestly didn't know what I was going to share because I was in, sometimes in business, you're in a little bit of a tough spot. We were in a bad financial quarter. It was, and it was a little tough. It's life, right? I didn't know what I was going to
Right.
share. But I usually share something about my staff and my team. And so it's okay. And so I shared, which is very, very true. I don't answer questions that my team asks. And everybody was like, what do you mean you don't answer questions that your team asks? All my team does all day long is ask questions. Well, I don't.
Exactly.
I don't. And my team doesn't ask that many questions. And I don't answer them either way. Right. And the base of that was because of the case method and because of this co-creation framework where they take ownership over so many things and areas of the business and doing so much better than me. So they don't need to come to me to ask questions. But I'm in this room of very, very, very successful people. One of those rooms where you're like, I'm probably the least successful person in here.
Yeah, I've been
Right.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great room to be in. We love being in those places.
It
But
is. Yeah.
yes, that weekend,
Iron sharp as iron.
exactly. Everyone keeps coming up wanting to talk about this and how do you get there? Because they're overwhelmed with all of these questions. And I'm thinking, y'all are all doing better in business than me. Why don't you figure this out yet? And because I assumed that what I was sharing, everyone already knew.
Hmm.
I didn't think it was a big deal. And it was in that moment the genesis of the book hit, right? Other people had said, like Ryan Dice and others had said, I needed to write this as a book for years, and I just didn't want to. I didn't think it was necessary. But in that moment, it was like, well, if these people who are some of the best business owners around are struggling, does that mean everyone's struggling?
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly. And I realized that I had an obligation to help because we small business owners have the power to change the world. We touch more lives on a daily basis as small business owners than anyone else on the planet.
Yeah.
And if we could be better leaders, the world would be a better place. That's why I wrote the book.
Awesome. Awesome. I got one more question for you before we wrap things up. Beyond systems and frameworks, and I can tell that you've got a lot of heart, a lot of passion, which I really respect. What
Thank you.
identity shift must leaders embrace to build teams that thrive without them?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this in the start.
Yeah.
Superhero complex, right?
Mm.
So you got to realize that life is story. There's story going on everywhere around us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in story, there are three characters: the hero, the villain, and the guide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're wearing the hat of the hero and there are only two other hats to wear, what hat is your staff person wearing? Are you making them the villain? Are you making
Mm-hmm.
them the guide? Well, they're definitely not the guide. So
They
you're
shouldn't
making
be.
them the villain. It's a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. And so the identity shift is you have to switch from being the superhero to being the guide.
Mm.
When you realize you're
Nice.
the guide of the story, your job is to guide the superhero. The superhero is your team member.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
your role. That's the shift.
And the villain is mediocrity.
Well, always.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This has been great. I've
Okay.
really enjoyed our time together. So, what are three things that our listeners can do to put some of these ideas into action today?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. And
Besides, besides go out and buy the book, because I'm gonna tell everybody you got to get this book.
well, thank you. And so we've talked about these though. Number one, you got to ask better questions.
Mm.
You have to commit to shutting your mouth and asking questions. Stop talking all meeting long. Ask questions. Number two, listen. Listen. You ask the question, then listen. And then the third one, be willing to look in the mirror. When things
Yeah.
don't go right, be willing to look in the mirror and realize that if something isn't going right in your business, it means you need to grow as a leader. It's not them, it's you. You need to grow as a leader. When things are going wrong in my business, I say, okay, where is it? What's going wrong? What's the root cause? All right, let me go learn about this root cause because clearly I don't know it well enough.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, awesome. You are offering a free copy of chapter 1 of the
Yes.
Delegation Trap. I suggest that you bypass that. We're going to tell people how to get that, but I think you should just go to clientattractionpros.com and pick up that book. Is that how you get it?
But actually, it's even easier. Just go to thedelegationtrap.com and get the book.
Okay,
So,
thedelegationtrap.com. Go there and buy the book.
mm-hmm.
And if you want to get a taste of it, you can email Atiba at Atiba de Souza, that's DESOUZA at clientattractionpros.com. And this will be in the show notes, so you can check it out there. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we sign off?
Listen, you owe it to the world to be a great leader. Yeah, I said it.
Amen.
And I'm
Yeah.
not apologizing about it. Okay. You are a small business owner. You are a leader. And it's time to step up. It's time because you created your business to change some portion and population in the world. But you can't do
Yeah.
that if you're a mediocre leader. It's time to step into the greatness you're supposed to be. This book is your first and next best step.
Awesome. Atiba, thank you so much. As we sign off, remember faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyan and Atiba de Souza. Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you, buddy.
You bet.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyan, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com. and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.